The pineal gland is the only midline brain structure that is unpaired or azygous. It's not directly bisymmetrical, and it takes its name from its pine cone shape, which follows a perfect golden ratio Fibonacci hypertrochoid pattern. Which is the fundamental basis of magnetism and every form of function in this universe. The serpent in the tree of knowledge represents the Kundalini energy rising up the spine, which is known as Jacob's ladder. Humans have 200 or so bones, but we only have one bone that is considered the holy bone, the sacrum. However, all bones are holy. All bones are also full of holes, or holy, which in medical terms are called foramen. They are foramen. The word sacrum means sacred in Latin, and it lives on in English anatomy as the name for the large heavy bone at the base of the spine, which is the sacrum, also called the spade. The Romans called the bone the os sacrum, which literally meant the holy bone, and the Greeks termed it iron ostion, the same thing, the holy bone. Several schools of thought exist as to what makes this bone so sacred, including the following. Temple, in Greek, airon, meant not only sacred but also a holy place, or a temple. Hiero, as in hieroglyphics, which means holy symbols, which means sacred writing, sacred images, sacred glyphs. So again, in Greek, hieron meant not only sacred but a holy place or a temple. It was the holy place in the sense that within its bony cavity lies the female ovaries and uterus, thus her sacred organs of procreation, her holy of holies. Thanks to its great size, the sacrum is usually the last bone of a buried body to rot. The ancients thus may have believed the sacrum to be the focal point around which the body could be reassembled in afterlife. The sacrum as a sacred sacrifice, or a sacrificial vessel. Some archaeological evidence supports the use of the sacrum as vessel to hold the sacrifice in ancient sacred or sacred rites. Supposedly, the sacrum was the part of an animal offered in sacrifice, since the sacrum is the seat of the organs of procreation. But whatever the exact explanation, the sacrum was surely sacred to the ancients. It was the holy bone, as its name reveals even today. Thus, from the base of the spine, we have the most basic animal instinct, the most basic nature, which also gives us the terms like sacred. In metaphysics, the sacral is the root of the basis for survival, sex, security, and instinctual needs, which is the basis for metaphorical need to sacrifice this portion in order to move to a more advanced state of being. However, like anything else, these things go to shit at the height of ignorance when people take things literally, such as things like literal ritual sacrifice of flesh and blood offerings to some deity. The Ace of Spades, Manly P. Hall had said the spade is actually related to our anatomy, being that of our spinal column and the sacrum bone. This will all start to make sense once you realize that the highest exoteric degree in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree. There are 33 turns in a complete sequence of human DNA, and the human vertebral column usually consists of 33 vertebrae. The sacrum is a large triangular bone that looks very similar to the symbol of the spade. It's located at both the base of the spine between our two hip bones with the coccyx or tailbone, and also at the top of our spine, which connects to the last lumbar vertebrae in its lower part. The sacrum bone normally forms from 5 unfused vertebrae at birth, and they begin to fuse together between approximate ages of 16 to 18 years old. And by the age of 33 to 34 years, it fuses into one bone that looks just like a spade. I've covered all of this in extreme depth in my PDF file called Secrets of All Religions, which has gone way deeper than I intend to go in this video. And at some point I intend to make a complete comprehensive video compiling all of that information into video format, but that's going to require it's going to take a long time. It's going to require a lot of work and a lot of editing to compile that video together. So I just haven't done that yet. Instead, I'm releasing it in many different segments throughout these video series in separate components. But again, the serpent in the tree of knowledge represents Kundalini energy rising up the spine, which is known as Jacob's ladder, or the tree, as well as the human DNA, or DNA in itself, which is known as the tree of life. Which corresponds directly geometrically to other mathematical formulas and Fibonacci sequence in nature, which is what trees follow as well. So in other words, other trees as being the tree of life, in other words, fruit trees being the tree of life as well, which is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so obviously having knowledge means you have knowledge of both good and evil. This is not bad. This is not something negative. This is not something evil, some religious concept. This is simply having wisdom and knowledge of knowing whether to use that knowledge and apply wisdom to it to do good, or to use that knowledge to do evil. So it can be used either way, but either way, knowledge is power, and knowledge is the key. You cannot achieve good or evil without having knowledge and without having wisdom. So that is the essence of the tree of knowledge and of good and evil. And all of these ancient depictions of archetypes trampling the serpent, or standing on snakes, or wrestling or grasping, or wrestling with snakes, or wrestling with serpents, slaying the dragon, simply represents having control over your Kundalini, your sexual energy. It means being the master of your own energy. It means being a spiritual master, holding control over your own basic human nature, over your own basic animal nature. It means rising above your basic sexual urges and applying the light of the mind to that. It means having control over your basic urges, having control over your instincts. It means rising up and taking control over your own human nature and wrestling with your own animalistic aspects within you, wrestling the beast within you.